Welcome back to Presume Legal. I'm Misha Janice, and thanks for joining me as we continue in our series where we rewatch testimony from the 3 past trials in the murder of Dan Markel. 3 trials, 1 topic, 1 witness, Wendi Adelson. Let's see her testify about the derogatory nickname she gave Dan that she was too scared to call him to his face. She tried to downplay her disrespect, but the significance of Jibbers was not just a silly name she gave him to make her feel better. Renaming Dan, effectively stripping him of his name and identity, which is what Wendi subsequently did with her son's name, was a lot more consequential than she made it appear.
I noticed in the emails that your mother referring to, who I think is Dan Markel, as Jibbers. What does that mean?
Jibbers was a nickname that I gave Danny when he was being really difficult and causing me a lot of pain. Was sort of a nickname I gave him to make him feel less threatening.
So it was a derogatory thing.
I wouldn't say it was derogatory.
Did you call him that to his face?
No, I called him Danny to his face.
Okay.
And Jibbers would be what? How would you spell that?
I don't know that I ever spelled it out. In the emails, I think it's spelled with a J, but I guess you could spell it with a G.
Jibbers.
That would be one way to
Ms.
spell it.
Adelson, you had Mr. Markel's phone number programmed into your phone as Jibbers, didn't you?
That's right.
I'll never refer to your husband as an asshole,
Yes,
a bully,
yes.
a zealot,
A religious zealot. Yes,
a jackass,
yes,
a religious extremist.
yes.
What about Jibbers? She calls him Jibbers?
Yeah, Jibbers is not a bad name. It was a silly name that I came up with during a period of time when I felt incredibly terrorized by Danny. And so it was a word that I would use to kind of make him seem less scary.
Is it fair to say that it was a derogatory term?
No,
Okay, but you came up with it directly in relation to him terrorizing you.
I did. It was a way to take the steam out of a situation I found scary. I wouldn't say it was derogatory. I just think it was.
And
a
when you say
silly-
scary, are you alleging physical abuse?
I'm not alleging physical abuse.
All right. It reads, however, the rest of your life and consequently Dad's, mine, and yes, even Charlie's will be affected by how well you can perform/act before July 31st. You need to be a good actress you can be a good actress when you want to. I've seen you in action. You need to put on the performance of your life. Jibbers hasn't beaten the Adelson family yet. Who's Jibbers?
Jibbers, she's referring to Danny.
And was Jibbers a name he went by or just something you called him behind his back?
Jibbers was a silly nickname that I gave him during the divorce proceedings when he was being pretty scary and threatening, and it kind of made me feel less scared of him.
Okay, so not something you called him to his face,
No.
but that was a word that was only used to describe him.
Yes, it was a nickname.
Okay.
So Wendi claims that giving Dan a nickname made him feel less threatening to her and argued that Jibbers was not a derogatory term despite never using it to his face. I did some research, and while the term doesn't have a dictionary definition, a form of the word gibber in English means someone who speaks rapidly and incoherently, suggesting a lack of seriousness or substance. Now, I can definitely see how Wendi would want to ascribe that definition to Dan to make him seem less threatening to her. But based on his published works, as well as the documents filed in the divorce proceedings, Dan was anything but incoherent. In the context of their Jewish heritage, the nickname Jibbers takes on an additional layer of complexity. In the Jewish culture, names represent identity, not just in telling one person apart from another. In that culture, a person's name defines them. The names are given at birth are not accidental. They are to some extent prophetic. They capture the essence of who the person is or who they are to be. They are the keys to our soul. In an article written by Rabbi Benjamin Blank, he explains, names are a book. They tell a story, the story of our spiritual potential as well as our life's mission. Yet our names are indicators of our potential and are predictors of our possible futures. It is not our names that force us to be what we are. We need to recognize that we will forever leave behind our names as a final legacy. Our names outlive us. Let's do everything in our power to make them be remembered for blessing. The rabbi's words are so beautifully written, and they convey the cultural importance of a given name to a person. So this begs the question, what is the meaning behind the stripping of a name? Besides the obvious disrespect of not using a person's actual name and giving them a nickname that by all intents and purposes is a slur against the person, what's the deeper meaning? Quick tangent. I was watching a video from Grish. If you haven't gotten on the Grish train yet, go jump on it. He's a somewhat new creator that's made a series called Wendy's TV that is so artistic and full of new ideas. He has some great content that I always look forward to watching. I'll leave a link to his content in the description below. So I was watching one of his videos and reading through some of the comments. I came across a comment by a viewer named J.W. Mayfield that mentioned the concept of Yimach Shemo. Yimach Shemo is a Jewish curse that translates to, may his name be erased. And traditionally, it was used in relation to specific enemies of Jewish people, but according to Wikipedia, can also be used against any person, such as a personal enemy, like what you'd have in an interpersonal relationship. Wendy's insistence that the nickname Jibbers is not derogatory, despite never calling him Jibbers to his face, reeks of their deeper relational issues. It suggests a passive-aggressive dynamic where feelings of resentment and control are expressed indirectly. Now, we know how desperately Wendi needed to be in control. This kind of behavior is not uncommon in contentious divorces, where direct communication has often broken down and parties resort to indirect methods of expressing their emotions and exerting control. We all know that even her family acknowledges Wendy's passive-aggressive tendencies, and there are multiple examples of it. While Jibbers is not a direct invocation of the Yimach Shemo curse, the underlying sentiment of diminishing Dan's importance or presence echoes the same intention. By giving Dan this silly nickname that she perceived as less threatening, Wendi, I posit, was consciously or subconsciously aligning with this tradition of using names to wield power and express disapproval, albeit in a less severe form. The may his name be erased curse was less severe with Jibbers. Unfortunately, the story didn't end there. Vengeance was sought, and not only was Dan's name erased, but so was he. So that's all for today. Let me know in the comments if you believe Wendy's nickname was just a silly jab at Dan, or if you think there was a deeper underlying meaning behind the stripping of his name. If you want to hear more about the significance of names in this case, make sure to check out my video about how Wendi changed her kid's last name from Markel to Adelson. Other than that, please like this video and subscribe to the channel so that we can grow our community and make new friends. Until the next drop, peace.